Hey everyone, hope you're good, everything's fine. Today we're gonna read some embarrassing stories to light up the mood and have a little laugh. Hope you're sitting comfortably, or you may be taking a bath and I accompany you. That's great. Anyway, let's go. Dear Reddit, what is your all-time most embarrassing moment? Flabinella says, I had a great day at water park outdoor pool, and towards the afternoon a woman came up to me and whispered in my ear that I have a problem with my swimsuit. I reached behind and noticed a huge gap. The fabric was torn right in the middle and you could see my white, untanned A-crack. I was running around like this all day and no one said anything. Toston says, I was at my friend's birthday party in high school and was super drunk. I ran into a group of people and said, "Watch this!" I then proceeded to run and dive into a bounce house only for the Velcro-lined entrance to grab my boxers and pull them down to my ankles. I'll never forget the looks of horror on their faces while I lied there on my back with my legs in the air showing off all my goodies. Sleep can't catch me, says. This was during my sophomore year in math class. I sat between two gentlemen. I was really congested that day, thus pretty tired at the same time. I was resting my head in my hand and hunched over my math book when I felt a sneeze coming. I went to lean back, but apparently didn't move quick enough when the force of the sneeze sent my face hurling into my desk. My head smacked the desk so hard that I bounced back up like a basketball. At that point, I was just dizzy and like, Meanwhile, the two guys next to me just completely lose their shit. The one on the right is howling with laughter. The one on the left has his face in his hands and is snorting. The teacher looked at us so confused, and all I could say was, I sneezed. Kiwi Pino says, I hit face first into a streetlight lamp post because I was staring while walking at a beautiful girl walking towards the direction where I am coming from. It was in front of the main gate of our university. Hundreds of students saw it. My friends laughed hard as hell. Truly, 1530 saying, my sophomore year of high school I had a crush on a girl that I had class with. We talked a few times, but I didn't know her that well. It was around Valentine's Day, and our school did a thing where you could pay $10 and students volunteers would go sing a song you picked in class to whoever you picked and give them a card. So instead of approaching her like a normal person for a date, I decided to go with the singing Valentine. I planked down my $10, signed up, and started getting extremely nervous about the next day. That afternoon, I told my friend what I've done, and he started laughing, and laughing. More than if he were just laughing at bad idea. Finally, he told me that the girl had a boyfriend, he was a senior, and I was an idiot. The next morning, I explained the situation to a friend of mine that was involved in the program, and after he finished laughing, he told me it was too late, singing assignments were out, it was going to happen. My only hope was that, since singers and time are limited, they wouldn't get to mine, which is a thing that would sometimes happen, and then you got your $10 back and not humiliated. So our class together rose around, which of course I had sent it to that one, and I started watching the clock. A couple other people got the singing Valentines, but with about 10 minutes left, mine still hadn't come. Then the door opened, and instead of the one person with a boombox we normally had, there were three. One was the guy I had begged to cancel it, who gave me the biggest smile as they set up. Now, songs options had been limited. This was before streaming existed, so it was just what they happened to have on CDs. I honestly didn't know most of the songs, I didn't want to go sappy, so I went with the one higher tempo song I knew, Wild Thing. So they announced who the Valentine was for and she blushed, I'm sure assuming it was for her boyfriend. They started singing and she blushed harder. They handed her the card that I had written my name in, and her face stopped being pink and went far more red. She looked over at me and all I could do was shrug. After they left, she said out loud, "But Chewy, I have a boyfriend." And then everyone knew it was from me. I just muttered that I found out too late and happy Valentine's Day and I'm sorry. That was the most embarrassed I ever been. Your idea success. I was in kindergarten and was playing in the sandbox at recess one day with my friend. We were making a sandcastle, but didn't have any sand that was wet enough to form a solid structure. I had been holding my pee for a while, and being 5 years old, I didn't want to stop playing, so I let it out while I was sitting and promptly let my friend know that I had magically found some wet sand that we could build with, and no one was the wiser. We built a damn good castle. Sorry, Matthew. Zintal says, the amount of times I have been misled into thinking someone was trying to high-five me and then going for it. I've wanted to oof every time. Rocket Max says, I was at an NFL game and something I had ate earlier had just wrecked my stomach and left me with horrible gas. Like the kind which clears the room, it is so bad. I was walking up the stairs to my seat mid-game and really had to let one rip. Right then the crowd cheered and I thought the moment was right. What I didn't realize is that my ass was at the same level as a woman sitting in her seat on the aisle and literally farted right in her ear. I looked back at her as she looked at me with shock and disgust. I quickly turned away and climbed the stairs as fast as I could and blended into the crowd. I still think about her time to time and how horrible that must have truly been for her, and just cringe at that what idiot I was. The Kind Jock says, I was playing spin bottle at a house party and I kissed a girl with a really bad peanut allergy. I had just eaten like 3 handfuls of peanut and M&Ms before joining the game. Long story short, her tongue swelled up, she has to use her EpiPen, her friend drove her to the hospital, and I cried in the bathroom. Civil Swordfish. I was in my math class doing some work. My phone had been acting up for a few weeks, probably because I got a virus by downloading some music from a sketchy site. It would just randomly download apps and stuff, but I mostly ignored it. So I had my phone placed on the table to check the answers online, which was allowed by the teacher, when a loud female voice seductively said, "Warning, do not enter this game if you're under 18. I was ready to oof at that moment. I tried to mute the sound by sticking the phone between my thighs, but the damage had already been done. Everybody had heard it and started laughing. I tried to explain that I do not play such games and that my phone had done it on its own. Yeah, no one believed that. I was already saving up to buy a new phone, and this incident sped up the process. Mosque for you says, I think I'm manly enough to confess this. Sorry if my grammar is bad, I'm actually Portuguese. When I was 16 years old, I had a sketchbook full of naked ladies, all done by myself. And one day, my mother, as a kindergarten teacher, was looking for her book with animals' pictures on it to bring for the next kindergarten class. But then, she accidentally mistook my sketchbook with her book, because the cover art looks the same, and brought a book full of naked ladies' drawings to a bunch of 4-6 years old children on the next class. Oh boy, my mother got so mad and disappointed of me after that. Aberum says, I was walking my ex to the street light since she was taking the bus. I was walking backwards, waving goodbye to her, and as soon as I turned around, I hit a sign post face first. I could hear people laughing, and even cars were honking as they were passing by. I immediately turned back around to see if my ex saw, and sure enough, she was laughing her ass off as well. Mozespan. Alright, so here goes. This happens to my best friend, which I got to witness. Just a small backstory before the shame. A few of us friends are very good friends since early teenage. We have absolutely no taboo topics. One time, 3 of us stayed at one of our parents' weekend place. One day, we are ready to hit the nightlife. 2 of us was brushing teeth. The one guy was taking a shower. He slowly slides his private part out the curtain while saying, watch out, here it comes." We had a good laugh. None of us really cared. All 3 of us was in different sports teams, so seeing a male staff in locker rooms was not a big thing. Many years later, in our mid-20s, many of us have a drink at bar. Christmas time, booze, just regular stuff. I go out the place to call my girlfriend, then come back. My friend greets me with the reddest face ever. I asked what happened. He goes, "You will not believe it. I thought you were in the men's room." He saw me go out, thought that I went to the bathroom. He goes in, sees a closed door. He assumes that I'm sitting on the toilet. He remembers the joke from years ago. He opens the door just a tiny bit and slides his private part in, saying, "Watch out, here it comes." No response. He opens the door a bit more, takes a look, and there sits a stranger man, pale, clutched up, seemingly in shock, as he thought he is in trouble. My friend sees him, immediately rushes out the room, sees me, and tells me this story. The man returned to the pub 15 minutes later, put the money on the table, and left as fast as he could. We crack up every time this story emerged. Oh my god. "Sup, I'm AJ, says. Oh boy, this is pretty bad. I was at sleepover with 5 girls, 3 of which will be relevant. They will be called Girl 1, Jessica, Girl 2, Samantha, Girl 3, Lily. Jessica and Samantha are best friends and they were like, we're actually sisters. It was clearly a joke, they didn't look alike at all. I said, haha, how? Are one of you adopted or something, huh? I had no clue that Lily was adopted, and it really seemed to offend her. Don't joke about that, that's not nice at all. We forgave each other easily, but I can't forget that embarrassing moment. Skippenberger says, my senior year of college, I was studying for a test around 10 a.m. at Denny's located right across the street from campus. My test was at 11, so I thought I had time to get a quick bite. I ordered my food, then went to the bathroom. Once I'm finished washing my hands, I go to leave and grab the door handle that's right next to the sinks and realized it's locked. I start knocking on the door, but I can hear the music in main dining, so I'm worried no one can hear me and I knock much louder. I left my phone at the table, so there was no way I could call the restaurant to have someone come unlock it, and at this point I'm getting really nervous. My professor in the class I was about to take the test in is a complete hard-ass and would never believe the whole "I got locked in Denny's bathroom so I missed the test" type of story. At this point I'm in full panic mode. I'm screaming, "Help! I'm locked in someone's help!" And "Hello, can anyone hear me?" for at least, no joke, a solid 15 minutes. I had to take breaks because my hands were hurting so bad from banging the door. Finally, I hear something behind me, and it was a waitress that opened the actual door right freaking behind me. She just goes, this way. It turns out I was banging on a locked utility closet. I step into main dining, and apparently that waitress wasn't the only one who heard me because everyone was staring, including all of the kitchen staff peeping over the counter. To make matters worse, I had just ordered my food and still had to wait on it. So I sat there in humiliation until I ate and left. I'm still so embarrassed, I can't even look at Dennis as I drive by. XKCD. I fell asleep in class and the guy behind me had to wake me up because I was snoring too loudly. MM Good Cake says, I used to pop my mobile phone under my pillow, until one night a few years back, whilst in the middle of relations with my husband, we managed to ring one of my employees. Mortified doesn't even begin to describe what I felt. Needless to say, moral of the story, don't sleep with tech. But Spigot says, my wife and I drove past a garage sale on our way to do some errands, so we whipped back around and started browsing the wares. There were a few people around, but it wasn't too busy. There was a shelf with some iron cookware that I was looking at, but couldn't find a price tag on it. Finally, this lady walked up to me and said, you know this isn't a garage sale, we're just helping this lady move. We legit just walked up to a group of people helping an old lady move and just started digging through her shit. I seriously have never been so embarrassed. Cablefish. In 6th grade, my entire elementary school would have an assembly every week, and one week my class, of about 20 or so kids, was reciting poetry. Everybody had a poem memorized, and we each had to go up in front of the entire school to recite it from memory. I happened to be sick the day this happened, but instead of just letting it go, my teacher had me to do it the next week, alone. When it was finally time, I couldn't remember any of the words of the poem, so I broke down crying in front of the entire school. Eventually, my teacher quietly asked me if I was able to just recite the last verse, so I just mumbled a few sentences into the microphone and walked back to my seat in shame, crying. Oh. The other says, I still think of it when I walk into the offices at work. Usually when I arrive there's nobody there, and I go ahead and do my thing. Walked into work, music blasting out of my earbuds, doing the footloose dance to the swirl and turn around to see a full conference room of people just staring at me for a solid 10 seconds. Did not know there was an early meeting that day. Ooh. Yes, no, wait, sorry, says. Not me, but a mate. He was out on a first date. According to him, on his first mouthful of food, some of it hit the back of his throat and he coughed. A piece of food flew out and landed on his date's foot. Apparently, she didn't see the funny side. If memory serves correctly, she didn't eat any of her food. Another user says, I went to a small school, about 50 kids per grade, 2 classes per grade. I didn't get along very well with a lot of the kids there. I did not get along with the popular guy in school, but I had my small group of friends. However, there were not many girls at our school, and I didn't socialize with any of them that were worth talking to. That changed when a new girl came to our school in 6th grade. Over the first few months of school, we became friends, and I got her number to talk to her outside of school. Things are going great, and I end up asking her out, and she says yes. Word started getting around that we're dating, like the next day. And the popular guy in school informed me that I was too much of a loser to be dating her and that he was gonna get her to go out with him instead. He was not interested in her prior to me asking her out. Later that week, a kid in our class was having a birthday party at his house and everyone in school was invited. I didn't like the kid, so I planned on not going. I asked my new girlfriend if she was gonna go, and she said she wasn't going either, so we planned to talk on the phone that night. She called me later that night to chat. I don't remember the whole conversation, but I do remember her asking questions on why I liked her, what I liked about her, why I asked her out, etc. At some point, she informed me that she didn't want to go out with me anymore. She was going to go out with the popular guy in school. Right then I heard the laughter of practically everyone in our class, but most of all I could hear the obnoxious laughter of the popular guy in our school. She had called me from the party with our whole class listening to the call, to ask me why I liked her, just to let me know she was going to date the popular kid instead of me. I've had a lot of embarrassing moments in life, but nothing quite compares to that. Oh my god, that's devastating. Eat My Shorts says, filming for my high school football team since I had broken a bone. Me and my buddy were talking about girls, as high schoolers do, and we found out a few weeks later it recorded sound as well. That still keeps me up at night sometimes. Desert Loner 1 says, I decided to go and eat dinner at a Middle Eastern restaurant. The host seated me next to two nuns. Both were older and rather stern looking. I was surprised, as I had not seen any nuns for years. Everything was fine until a sanity-clad belly dancer comes out dancing for male customers. She went from table to table dancing for each male customer. As she got closer, I got more and more apprehensive. She finally got to my table and did the whole sexy dance routine. I could feel the presence of the nearby nuns watching. I did not want to make the belly dancer feel bad, so I had to behave as though I was enjoying the dance. During the dance, I could almost physically feel two sets of disappointing eyes watching me. I wanted to shrink down into my chair and disappear. This user says, not me, but I know a pilot who was about to take off. When they had a word, there was a buzzing coming from below the plane. All passengers were seated and waiting, so were watching the small commotion outside as the workers started unloading the luggage. They found a bag that was vibrating. Next thing, the passengers hear over the loudspeaker is a call for the owner of the bag they have pulled out to identify themselves. A woman stands up and proceeds to be escorted her bag and has to pick through her belongings and pull out her vibrator, while the whole plane watches through their little windows. Ooh, that was a ride. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Have a nice rest of the day. Goodbye.